Welcome, ladies, to the Real Estate InvestHER Show, providing inspiration, strategies, and insight to empower women investors to live balanced and financially free lives. Now, here are your co-hosts, Liz and Andresa.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Liz.
And this is Andresa.
Welcome back to the Real Estate InvestHER Show. Our mission is to empower women to live a financially free and balanced life, and we do that in so many different ways. And obviously, we do that with all of you. So thank you for being back with us for another minisode edition. We go deep, we go brief, and we get to it. We get to it quickly. So Andresa, what are we talking about?
I shared the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And today I'm going to share the number one business lesson I did not learn during my journey in school and college, and even with 2 master's degree under my belt. Did not get that, and I'm going to share with you. So you're going to save thousands and thousands of dollars. Don't need to go to college, neither have a master's degree to learn what I'm going to share with all of you. Liz, I was always labeled as a student, right? Until I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was like, I don't want to be an A student anymore. I want to be a C.
There you go.
Right? I learned that and I said, oh my gosh, all those many years that I cried because I got a lower grade, when I went to discuss with one of my professors, why did she give me an 8.5 out of 10? And she looked at me and was like, are you serious? And I was like, I guess, no, forget about it. But the lesson that I want to share with all of you is that even though I have 2 master's degree, and I'm not saying this to brag or anything. I'm just sharing this because I did not learn during those times some lessons that I learned by running a business, right? It's like the street cred per se. And this is so important. And I don't understand why this is not a freaking class, why it's not like mandatory to pass those in order for all of us to run a successful business. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. I think that if Liz and I did not have mentors side by side, we would not have made it. And I think a lot of the business that fail in their first 5 years is because they're like, hell no, I don't want to do this. Their expectations are off on what it takes to run a business and what it's needed to run a business. And the most important thing for me is to really having a pulse on your finances. I had classes about finance. I know how to do math. This is not what we're talking about. And I think many real estate investors look at their cash flow individually per property. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your business cash flow. How is that? You know how people figure it out, their business cash flow, when they're scaling? There's a lot of properties and a lot of money coming out of the account because the property is not producing. It's being either stabilized or rehabbed. And they're like, holy shit, what I'm going to do here the next month? I really don't even have it. I need to, undress Peter to pay Paul or whatever that quote might be. So let me go through it with you, what I recommend you, no matter where you are at with your business right now. Here are the 3 things that I recommend you to really get a hold of it out of the bat, right? P&L and a cash flow. I didn't know what a P&L was. I didn't know what a cash flow was, right? And I have to really put myself out there to fully understand. And you need to have a bookkeeper that understands your business and a CPA that communicates with the bookkeeper, and that we are all on the same page, how things are being registered or recorded per se, because then it makes sense in a long term. I'll give you an example, right? We have an event and we have a photographer for that event. That photographer, I've registered that photographer as a cost of the event. And it's not, because the result of that photography is for marketing purpose. So that goes on the overhead for the entire company under marketing, not under that event. It's just simple things that really change. But the P&L and the cash flow are needed for you to scale your business. Without that, you're just guessing. You're just guessing what's going to happen and praying that you do have money in the bank in order to support that great deal that just came in. So for all of you that are scaling it, when you are raising money, don't just raise the amount that you need. Think about the reserves that you would need as well for that specific period. You need to raise more than what you need for rainy days. Otherwise, you're going to have a cash flow problem in your business. So that's like a non-negotiable. The way that we do it is that every month, our bookkeeper gives us a P&L with a cash flow and year to date, right? So we have those reports. And every about 6 months, Liz and I, we have both our business and personal with the same CPA, which facilitates a lot. We have a conversation with our CPA to see if we need to change anything based on our strategies, right? And that has been working super well for us in order for us to really understand where can we invest. Because if you don't know your cash flow, though, you also don't know if you have the funds to invest in people, right, Liz? And that's been our biggest, as we scale for building a team. What is my capacity to invest in people? And that is my second tip for you. If you don't have the cash flow and the P&L, you don't know how much reserve or what can you afford in terms of hiring team members. And we have hired a fractional integrator that went over the P&L that we've been using it and took it to another level. Every single freaking penny. He was like, what is this? What, like, is this annual? Is this per semester? Why is this different than this? I'm telling you, right, Liz? How detailed was that?
I wasn't even part of all the detail, but even just the part that I went to, but it was so helpful, right? It's like you cannot make changes or plan if you don't have a, like you say, finger on the pulse, right? Globally. Yeah. It's really, really critical.
Exactly. So we're looking at projections. What our integrator did was create based on the P&L and the cash flow, everything that's going on. We are making projections years ahead, right? And then next year, we're going to say, okay, what are the adjustments that we can make to the following years? And the things that are like, okay, I see the cycle over here and I can totally project the next year. That has helped us to take a deep breath and say, we'll be okay if we make this big investment now, because all those other things are happening. It is very detailed and time consuming, but it's now I can have a deep breath and really fully think about, okay, we are going in the right direction. The third thing is about banking. Listen, I love local banks, but their systems suck. It's archaic, right? And when we start reading Profit First and really understanding that many entrepreneurs look at their bank account as to see, oh, I have money in the bank. Okay, that's great, right? That is no longer enough. So if you have not read the book Profit First, I highly, highly recommend that you read it and start implementing it. The problem that we faced is that all the strategies that were inside Profit First, we couldn't implement because when we share with our banker, they open up their eyes as if we're talking about like for aliens or something, right? So we also switch banks, and we're going to put all the information here. Relay is the banking option that we have chosen, and they have a partnership with Profit First. So it's just like, okay, I don't need to explain to you what I'm trying to accomplish over here. And they are online and has allowed us to really say, okay, I'm working with the right people considering where I'm going with my business moving forward. Our bookkeeper is aware about that is. Our CPAs, it's aware about what it is. Our integrator, everybody understands how we're going to run this business. And I did not learn none of this in the school. So the number one lesson that I've learned is to really have a pulse on the financials of your business, not what your property makes in terms of cash flow, income, and expense, but your business as a whole. You're not a real estate investor. You are a business owner, and you need to understand how to run your business as if. Think about all the investment properties as you have, and they all come together in one single spreadsheet or frame, or that all your team is looking towards. Unless you have that, you're just spread too thin and putting yourself in a stressful situation where it can be avoidable if you have the right tools in place. And I believe that if many entrepreneurs have that, they wouldn't lose their hair in their business.
I would just add to that. That's so powerful. I'd also add to doing that is obviously to have a finger on the pulse so that you can make better decisions in your, long-term, short-term, meaning, looking at all your properties and saying, okay, what properties, what do I think they're doing and what are they doing? Could be two very different things. And so you're like, why don't I sell this property or why don't I buy more of those? And that really opens up your lens to say, what should I be doing more of and what should I be doing less of? It's really hard to do that on hunches. And I think people do that all the time.
100%.
So I think it's a decision-making tool, right?
Capital gains, right? The taxes, you got to take in consideration. I've seen in a lot of people don't take in consideration. They think that they made a profit. Well, but wait a minute. After taxes, after you paying everything, you were left with 10 grand. Is that worth your time? Was it really worth it, your time? Or you could have lended that money and got the same return doing something else, right? We don't know that. So the finances is just, I want you guys to take it very seriously because knowing doesn't do anything. So you listening to me right now doesn't do anything because knowing does not make any movement to go forward. But I encourage you to pick one action that you can take. If you pick the book, so you can read the book. If you have a conversation with Relay about their system and how can one thing that you can move the needle forward in your business towards an area where you feel comfortable, that is the goal of this podcast. I know there is a lot here, but move the needle forward and come back to it later on and say, okay, I need to listen to it or watch it, depending on what you're using. Again, to see it. And if you have questions about it, more than happy to share more information about it on our Facebook group community. Put a question there, say, hey, I listened to this episode and I have this specific question. Who would you recommend? My resources are your resources. So we're more than happy to make connections for all of you and to support you and your business. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you guys around. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to receive updates on our next interviews, go to our website, therealestateinvestor.com. There, you can subscribe to our show, become part of our investor community, and get updates on upcoming episodes.
If you like our show, please share it with other women who would benefit. And don't forget to leave us a rating on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And as always, we encourage you to take one action as a result of today's show and put it into motion so you can live both a financially free and balanced life. Thanks for spending time with us.
Ciao.